Hi there. I thought I would take you on a quick tour. We'll have a quick look at this new course book that's out from Macmillan. It's called Global, and it's a very interesting series. The first thing that leaps out at me about Global is the amazing use of multimedia and, in particular, social media as integral parts of the course, or things that can be built around the course. But what I would like to focus on here with you is the actual sample unit. That's the core of the course. That's what we as teachers normally pick up and flip through and have a look at in order to judge how well a course book's going to work in our adult classes. Now this is going to sound simple. One of the things that I really love about the Global course book is the layout. It has a very relaxed feel. And there's a lot of, there's some white spaces. Now, a lot of the course books I see for adults these days are incredibly cluttered. Everything's really jammed in, and there's so much crammed into one page. You get this very claustrophobic feel. It feels burdensome. But I like the fact that it creates a more relaxed feel, but I also like the way that this caters to what I find with a lot of my adult students like to do. They love to take notes in their books. They love to add notes, reminders, or translations even. It's good that there's room for them to take some of their own notes in here, and it also facilitates a little bit of extension from me as the teacher. If I want to add something, a quick activity, or I want to give them a bit of additional vocabulary, we can do that right here in the book, and I like that use of white space. Now, another thing I like is the use of grammar. Personally speaking, I'm not the sort of teacher that likes to flog grammar a lot. I don't like for there to be inordinate amounts of time spent on grammar in my classroom. But with Global, you don't need to spend inordinate amounts of time on grammar. They're fairly quick, they're pretty straight up, they're boxed nice and neatly. They don't take a lot of time to go through if you don't choose to. But you can also skip them quite easily, and it's not going to impact too much on the natural flow of the lesson. I also like the fact that the grammar has actually been drawn out of the preceding content. So you don't get that feeling that the grammar syllabus was preset and then the content was built around that to demonstrate the grammar. That's important for me as a teacher. So I do like the way grammar has been handled here. Now, another thing I really like is the use of literature in Global, or references to literature. Really interesting selections. One thing I think, especially for adults, is that if you're going to use literature or references to literature in your course, they should be interesting in their own right, and they should be, informative about the culture that the language is coming from. But they should also be very good discussion starters. And looking at all the literature selections here, I think they're very very ripe for discussion. There's a lot of stuff that can be discussed out of those literature selections. So that's good use of literature, interesting stuff. I find it interesting, and hopefully that would be transferred, out into the classroom as well. Now, the actual units are sort of built in. There's 4 sections of 2 pages, which is good for scheduling and having a nice sort of framework for your lessons. Then there's some additions at the end of the unit. One of them is the function globally. I like this. It has a nice practical feel. It focuses on practical language in practical situations. It's good that there's a whole page dedicated to that. And here's my favorite part, the global voices part. This is where they've actually incorporated English as it's spoken by not only native speakers but non-native speakers. This is where we get to see English used as a global language. This is a really special part of Global. I hope a lot of course books will follow this sort of model, because you do get that sense of English being a global language. It's a very, very good addition, a very exciting addition. I also like the fact that writing has been given its own page. I think writing is a very special skill. It needs its own emphasis. You can't just tack it onto other parts of the coursework, and it's treated as a genuine skill here unto itself. So I like that. So overall, a very interesting course book, and it gets my vote. Global.